Science knows that actual magnetic currents flow through everything, a discovery that has destroyed everything science has postulated as a law. In a few years, such knowledge could enable man to do away with all present sources of power now commonly used, such as oil, electricity, gas, coal, gasoline, etc. A little motor, small enough to be inserted in the palm of the hand, could be used to draw magnetic currents from the earth itself and run till it falls apart. Through the control of the magnetic currents, we would gain unlimited power, besides taking a colossal step forward in progress. In past highly developed civilizations of ancient times, man employed this natural power, sound and vibration, understanding and using cosmic laws. Why does present-day man hesitate? I leave the answer to you. Arrogant and aggressive man shall find that his conquest of the skies cannot go beyond the heaviside layer of this planet, as long as he intends to go forth into outer space to conquer other worlds, for the knowledge will not be given unto him. If he cannot enter outer space with peace in his heart, and without being armed to the hilt, it is unlikely he'll ever discover the secret of interplanetary flight, let alone make rocket missile tests without failure. Our present path of development will not reveal the secret. The 8 dimensions of each planet, spoken of by scientists and as the heaviside layer, is of a different vibratory rate. This dimension surrounds each planet in a wall or globe of impenetrable force. Impenetrable as far as man of this earth is concerned. The heaviside layer of earth ranges from 28 to 300 miles. The past few years, and due to the incoming earth cycle and the changes taking place throughout the cosmos, the 8th dimension of our planet has expanded, moving outward several hundreds of miles. It holds the atmosphere to Earth and keeps it from vanishing into outer space, acting as a boundary as well as protection. It acts as a buffer, or rather affords a protection for the Earth from invaders of outer space, such as meteors and beings that might be antagonistic to man. It is true that small meteors occasionally strike the surface of the Earth, but they are only about 1/1,000,000th of their former size before coming through the heaviside layer. The rate of vibration in the 8th dimension is such that it disintegrates material objects at an extremely rapid rate. At once the thinking person will interrogate, how then do the brothers come through it to the earth? In describing the means of propulsion that motivates their ships, our brothers explain that in order to penetrate the frequency of vibration of the heaviside layer, they blend the frequency of their ship with that which they enter into, by changing the polarity of the magnetic force field generated and surrounding the ship. To accomplish this, a ship is so constructed that it draws in the electromagnetic force of space, electromagnetic or static electricity everywhere present, converting or condensing it into a magnetic force field or vortex which surrounds the ship. The radiation of this force field decreases in pressure and intensity as it radiates outward from the ship until it blends into space itself. The frequency of the vortex is controllable by instruments within the ship. Thus, by generating their own polarity, becoming one with the atmosphere, and controlling gravity, they are not hindered in their space travel. To explain further the means of propulsion that motivates their ships, I quote from the book Flying Saucers by M. Doriel. Magnetic currents flow throughout all the worlds and all space like rivers, so close together that there is one moving one way and one on another or slightly different river or vibratory octave, so that by mere changing of a particular octave, a vessel motivated by it can move in any direction instantaneously. It can come to a dead stop, change its motion in another direction without there being any apparent braking power of any kind whatsoever. When a ship is attuned to these magnetic currents, it is not completely within this three-dimensional world. In other words, as soon as it begins to move on one of these magnetic currents, it partially changes in dimensionality, and as a result, it is neither subject to the gravitational pull of the earth or to friction. It is not subject to material stress and strains, and its movement is unlimited, as long as it stays partially within the three-dimensional world, because during the time of its movement, it immerses itself in the magnetic current and takes on a different dimensionality than the material world. That is the reason they can take on terrific speed and suddenly vanish, because they have vanished not in space but in dimension. They go to the second dimension, and in that state, movement or speed is practically instantaneous from one point to another. Our brothers are operating on an entirely different frequency or spectrum than we are here on as third-dimensional beings. I doubt that any ordinary person, scientist or physicist, with what knowledge we have on this planet, could operate one of their ships, certainly not without their guidance, if at all. The secondary electromagnetic principle is involved. The human body has to master the first degree of electromagnetics, which, as you know, is man-made. This earth and all upon it has its existence in an all-pervading sea of electromagnetic energy. We all live in it, have our being in, and operate in this sea of natural force, which is, at this present time, badly affected by the negative thought vibrations of the mass consciousness. This great universal power is universally distributed throughout all universes, and is the principle by which the earth rotates, is the principle which holds the earth in space, the primal secondary electromagnetic force. Magnetic electric currents are subtle, invisible currents that flow through everything in nature. They have become the source of all the energies and powers that our brothers use, not only to motivate their flying ships and operate instruments, but which gives them power over all things in the animate world, the third dimension, and the second dimension world. They know how to control them and release them in great power and force. They have oriented themselves into such a higher state that they may have control over life and death, over transfiguration and transmutation, thus applying this system of electromagnetics to their own bodies, their own lives. If you develop your body to a high enough frequency by raising the state of your consciousness, you can levitate, walk on air, on the waters, just as Jesus the Christ did. Our own earth generates magnetic currents, and our own bodies have magnetic energy flowing through them. Man is the center in which all these forces and currents are crossing and merging to try and find in him the perfect expression, the perfect channel. And for the reason that man is not a perfect channel, the perfect expression is not found, and the force passes on. It depends on one's state of vibration how they intercept this power, how they take it on, and how they use it, as to whether they can, in turn, use it to manifest superhuman powers, or to construct equipment that can absorb or draw in this secondary electromagnetics and convert it to use in various forms, from motivating automobiles to supplying lighting systems. Principles of secondary electromagnetics is a vast study and can be worked out whereby mankind can be greatly benefited. These electromagnetic forces and principles are free for anyone to utilize, being all-pervading, everywhere present. The key to these things are not available to those who seek them. These natural universal forces must not be employed in any negative, destructive manner, but only for the highest good.